Let's keep doing the checks. So now we need to check if it's a wall or if it's a ghost. Let's start with if it's a wall, okay? So we know that if it's not an invalid key and it is within the borders, then we come here. If it is a wall, so if it's a wall, that's the next check. If it's a wall, we just don't move the pacman. So, but yeah, what I want you to notice is if the code gets to up here, it is a valid key and it is within the border. So we are actually moving the pacman to a valid position in the map, right? Now we need to check if what is in the map is a position that the pacman can go to, right? So right now it's basically empty positions. What else? And pills, right? We can eat the pills. Yeah, that's actually another thing we need to handle. We get there. So let's first check if it's a wall, because if it's a wall, we then don't move the pacman. And how do we know if it's a wall? So we know that it is a wall if the position we want to go is equals to the symbol of the wall, right? And for the wall, we have two symbols, which is the pipe or the dash, right? So this is how we know if it's a wall, if the position we want to go is one of those two characters. So if that's the case, we then return false as well. Yeah, it looks simple, right? Let's try this out. So this is the map. The pacman is here. So we can go one to the right, but then we cannot go 2 times to the right because the pacman needs, there's a wall there. So let's try this out. So we have the map, we go right again, this should be invalid. And then if the player is persistent, tries again, still pacman cannot go more than that. So let's see, I run, the pacman is here, then we go 1 to the right, it works. Then we go another 1 to the right, and oopsie, now the wall really blocks the pacman. We try again, oops, still you can't, the wall blocks the pacman again. That looks good. And this was quite simple, right? Should we put this into a method? Of course, right? So this seems like one very specific function of the program, and if it's a very specific function of the program, it should belong to one function that is isolated from the rest. So let's do the refactoring. Extract method. Let's call it is a wall. You see, it checks that it clashes with already existing name because we have a variable that is called like that. I'm gonna say it's okay, right? And then you see that it doesn't really work. But what we can do is, now we don't need the variable because the name of the function is basically self-explanatory, right? Maybe we could do even the same for this one because within borders is also very self-explanatory. Yeah, that looks good. Maybe these should also go to a function, right? I'll let you think about this. If you think this is a good option, then you do it, okay? So now we check if it's an invalid key. We check if it's within the borders. If it is a wall, great. And now we need to check if it's a ghost. So if it's a ghost, well, the logic is the same. Is a ghost. It is a ghost if next x and next y is equals to g. Right, but then let's think, what should happen if is a ghost? Well, the game should finish, right? The game should finish. Because, yeah, the pacman dies, so then it doesn't continue anymore. So it should say something like game finished or something. And one way would be, of course, we can just print you are done, you died, something like that here. Right? But that's not a good idea. Why is that? Because you see, so this play function doesn't really know user interface, right? Can you see this? So this play function only has pacman related logic. It doesn't show things to the user. Everything related to the UI is in another UI module. We also notice that we're not getting the keys from the keyboard. So this pacman function is quite isolated from the rest. This seems very tricky, what I'm trying to discuss here, but that's because it's really a advanced concept in software engineering, right? So separating things can be really hard. So let's think here. We need to indicate, or display function needs to indicate that the Pac-Man died, right? And for now, it indicates only if the key is a valid key or not. Because it returns false, right? And then I didn't code here, that was my mistake before, but it should also return if the move is legal, right? Return true. So what can we do here? Well, we just need to add one more parameter to this function, or to the return of this function. So we're going to agree that this function returns the first boolean, which is if the Pac-Man is alive or dead. Let me roll back a bit. So it first returns if the movement was valid, and then it returns if the Pac-Man is still alive or not. So for example, in this case, it's an invalid key, so we return false because it's invalid, and we return true because the Pac-Man is alive. Same for all of those, right? If it's a ghost, it is a valid movement, but the Pac-Man is dead now, right? And if we move the Pac-Man, if it's not dead, then it's returned true. So it's a valid key and the Pac-Man is still alive. Yeah, this is getting a bit more complicated. Yeah, the Pac-Man is not a simple game. So let's even write a comment here. This function returns two booleans. The first indicates whether the pressed key was a valid key. The second indicates whether the Pac-Man is still alive, right? And maybe you're missing why this is important. Well, you can imagine that at some point we're going to code a loop where we're going to get the key from the user presses the key, the Pac-Man moves, and then the program asks for the next key, right? But the program should keep asking for the next key only if the Pac-Man is alive. If the Pac-Man is dead, then the program should say, well, you lost the game. Yeah? Great, so you see this is getting more complicated because display function now, yeah, does many things, right? It knows many things. But that's, you know, what happens once you're developing something more complicated. So for now, I think we're almost done with this function because it only moves the Pac-Man if the key is valid, if it's within the borders, if it's not a wall, and if you didn't hit a ghost. That looks good to me. I think we're only missing now, because if you move the Pac-Man to a position, then we also need to know if we won the game, right? If we eat all the pills, we win the game. But that's a problem for the next video. Bye.